Hey there, everybody. What a day in the stock market. We just saw some huge volatility popping up, falling low, and then rising right back up to where it just about opened. With that being said, let's get into this video, guys. We're going to go over the technicals of how the stock market is doing. We're going to look over the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, gold, crude oil, and then my own personal trade today and how it all turned out. If you guys enjoy this video, please remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this. So here's the Nasdaq on the 5-day, 5-minute chart, and we saw some huge volatility here today. We saw it ending up opening right around here, bursting up to 12,000 and then falling down to 1180 and then back up right near 1,000 again, or 12,000 again. So let's look at some technicals here. Let's go to the 20-day 1 hour, and we can see that we have been in this consolidation period for this last little while after reaching all-time highs. And we can see right now that this is a huge resistance moving forward. We've been consolidating right around this 12,000 mark, and it does not seem to want to pass. So we're going to put a resistance line right here moving forward for tomorrow, because this is going to be the number that we really need to worry about moving forward to see if we're going to be breaking that. We might try to test it again here, so make sure you look out for that. We also can tell that we did find support perfectly with a couple days ago right here. So this is going to be the new um, the new support level going forward with the Nasdaq. So if you're trading TQs or SQs, keep an eye out for this low that we just found. If we look at the SMA line here, this seems to be a very strong resistance. Every time we break above, it doesn't really want to break much higher and it gets rejected, right? Again, we seem to be falling right below. So like let's look at the 180-day chart. And as that comes up and loads, we'll see that we still are right above the SMA line, but we have tested it a couple times here in the last week. So make sure if we fall below this, we could see lower lows back down to the 11,000 mark. But if we see that we keep holding above, this could just be a temporary blip and we could see all-time highs again going above this 12,400 mark. So make sure you check for the next support will be right here at this 11,700 level. If we break below there, we could see some lower lows moving forward. The next thing we're going to look at here is the S&P 500. So the S&P 500, all these major indices were very sporadic today. If we go down to the 5-day, 5-minute, we can see that again, we opened high, we broke right above the VWAP, and then we ended up crashing back down to this pre-market low that we actually had. If we would look at the SPY, but again, this seems to be the support level that we're seeing. It doesn't the stock or the S&P 500 doesn't really like breaking below this amount right here. So we're going to use this as a form of support moving forward. We can see that the S&P 500 is rallying just a little bit. Again, it seems to be doing this every night. It'll either dip a little and then rally back up in the pre-market. We've really just been in this channel and corridor. So as we can see here, this seems to be a very strong resistance. We can see that it broke it right now, but this is after hours. So a lot can happen between now and the market open tomorrow. With that being said, if we do continue to hit more, to continue our highs, this is going to be around the next strong resistance level, right here at the 362 area. This seems to be where we got rejected the last few times if we extend out, and that'll be the next main hurdle if we want to try to make all-time highs again. If we look at the 180-day chart, we can see that we still are above the SMA. It's still holding up pretty strong. Excuse all the lines, it's kind of cluttered, but this is kind of what we're seeing here. So this is the support. If we break below, we could see further lows to this SMA line, which is a low, if you can see over here, that we had before when we were on our way to all-time highs. And one other thing I wanted to quickly touch on in this 20-day 1 hour, we have been using the SMA as a resistance. We have broke above right now during after hours, but in the morning this could change. So keep an eye on this SMA line. It could be a support, or it could turn into a resistance real quick and reject us right back down. With that being said, let's move over to the Dow Jones here, uh, and we'll go over that. So again, the Dow Jones was actually a little bit different if we look at the 5-day, 5-minute. It didn't have the massive pullback we saw with the other um, two industrial or futures contracts. We saw that it kind of had a little dip, but we started rallying up throughout the whole day. We saw much of the growth stocks following suit with the Dow Jones. It had a little bit of a pullback, yes, but it did end up recovering, bouncing on that SMA line and making highs again. So let's quickly go over what this means. So this seems to be a support again. We hit, this was a high before, and now it is a support for the Dow Jones moving forward. So we're going to extend that here to the right so you guys can see a little bit better around this 29,300 area. And then we could see that we broke above anything that's anything noticeable right now. So going into tomorrow, we could look at this and say, or let's go look at the 20-day 1 hour here. We could say that this is going to be the next challenge if we decide to keep up what's going on here during after hours. This amount right here at the 30,000 level is going to be our new resistance if we decide to hold above. We are bouncing and we have broke above this SMA line. This is after hours, of course, but it could get rejected and make lower lows. And then in that case, we could look at this. If it would break below the SMA line and break below this 29,300, this 29,000 flat could be the next major resistance or support line. So that's what we're kind of looking at right now. If we look at the 20 or 180 day 4 hour, just a quick little thing here. We are well above this SMA line, but we are right below the standard deviation. So this could be the breaking point where we fall back below to the SMA line, or we could be making new all-time highs. So that's the main key areas that we're going to be looking at here going into Tuesday, November 24th. So now let's look at the gold futures. So gold had a big sell-off here today. We saw it fall just about 2% overall. We were finding a lot of a consolidation period here. We had a triple bottom and it fell right below that triple bottom right here. So right now we don't really have a good indication of where this could be going. If it keeps falling like this, we could see it hit lows just about here. There's not really much support going on since we broke below the SMA line. We can see right about here at the 1792 area is where we could find support going forward if it continues to fall. Gold futures usually rise when we see the stock market have uncertainty, but as the stock market seems to be finding its traction, gold usually goes down after that huge rally. So this is predictable and this should happen. So we just got to keep an eye out for that going forward. So going into tomorrow, November 24th, resistance line right here where we were finding support before, right here near this triple bottom, I guess, would be the number one major resistance moving forward. So with that being said, that's what we're really looking around this 1855 area is going to be the major resistance moving forward if we want to see more upside. Now, finally, let's go over crude oil. So, crude oil hasn't really done much the last couple of days. We did see it bounce as seen in the last technical video, but it has been rallying up and we are hitting this like quadruple 5x, 10x top here that we've been hitting. So beware, we could see a pullback to the SMA line or to uh, this rising line here that's creating this rising wedge moving forward. So we could see a pullback there. We are hitting all-time tops. So this is going to be the major resistance. We can get above that. We could see higher highs. But if we don't, we could see a fall to at least 40 down near this 36, 37 area. So finally, let's go over my trade I took today. So I bought this put contract here for the S&P 500 or the SPY. The ETF is what I was trading. So let's look at what happened. If we look at here, I ended up buying at 9:11 this morning. So we saw this put right around, I got it around about 80 cents or so, right here at 9:11, and sold around 9:26. So that would be right about here, I believe. Whoops, right about here. So this is what I did to figure this out. So right here, I made about 50% today. It was a really good trade. I could have made more, up to about 100%, or even up to the high of 200%. Or if I would have bought at the low, I could have made around 500% if we look at this real quick. Actually, 600%. Crazy, crazy day. But let's actually see what I was looking at when we were looking at the SPY. So when I look at the SPY right here, I saw us hit this high and break right above the pre-market high. Now, if you're from TikTok, you would have saw that I did explain this pre-market high and pre-market low, which is why there's a trend line down here. If we look at the 5-day, 5-minute chart, we can see where I got these support lines. It was right here from the pre-market. We had a lower support right here, and we had an a pre-market low right here and a pre-market high right here. So what was I looking at? With all these lines, I know it gets kind of confusing, so let's like kind of break this down. Right at the time, uh, we saw that it broke right above this support or this pre-market high. So that was the major resistance for the day, but it broke right through there. And I didn't know if that would really happen or if that would continue going up. If it would have, I would have bought calls today. But I thought there had to be a pullback. So I knew that the support line was probably going to be this pre-market high if it would have stayed above. Right when it broke below this pre-market high, it continued to sell off right here past this VWAP, and it kept going and going. So right here is when I decided to buy. I knew there would be a bounce because usually we don't have these falls unless there is a bounce. So it bounced a little bit, consolidated like it normally should. Usually doesn't always take the full elevator down, but these drops are pretty big. We did see it fall a couple dollars in just a few minutes. So we saw this, and I took this as my perfect opportunity to sell on the next candle. So I sold on the red candles. Did go a little bit lower, but I decided to sell on a solid red candle to make sure my order was filled, and I ended up making 50% today. Right when it broke below this VWAP, that is your confirmation. It broke below the pre-market pre-market high, and it fell below the VWAP. That is a very bad sign for a stock's price. So we saw the SPY break right below, and that it was my indication to jump in. Uh, Real quick, another thing that I was looking at today that helped solidify why I did what I did. If you look at the 20-day 1 hour, we were hitting the SMA line all day, and we could not break it. So that was my indication right when we hit it, since we were consolidating underneath that for so long. I knew that it would probably get rejected. I took the place that I thought it would get rejected, and it did. And then that was how I made 50% today. If you guys would like to know what all this stuff means, I do have a video going over it under this top 6 trading patterns. I also have the definitions for what a lot of this stuff means in the description below. With all that being said, please remember to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and check back for my daily trading recaps and my technical analysis for the following day in the stock market. Have a great day.